Oh, no. Ah, yes. Oh, hello, program directors. I come to you today with our last and final annual program review for the paramedic program. So with that, let's go ahead and look at the dashboard so I can get your peer responses. And I do want to thank you for last couple of weeks ago for your responses for the EMT program. That was very helpful. I was able to incorporate that into the dashboard. So thank you so much for that. But here's our last one to do, and this is on the paramedic program. And there'll be some similarities with the EMT. These two programs are sort of in essence considered one because we do use the EMT program to feed the paramedic. You must be an EMT before going into the paramedic program. So they kind of work together, and the EMT program being the primary feeder for our paramedic. All right, so with that, let's take a look at some of the data that we have here. The program has a capacity of 16. In the baseline year that we're using, that's 16-17, we had 7 students. And then in the following year, we only had 3. And that has been a consistent issue with the program, is severe under-enrollment. And I think you can see those numbers are pretty difficult. The next thing is retention. Again, we do in general, we do very well with retention in the certificate programs. If you remember from a couple of weeks ago, since we do have such small numbers, we do pour a lot of energy into each student to making sure that they're successful. As you can see in the baseline year, we were able to retain all 7 students all the way through to completion. And in the last report, that 17-18 academic year, again, we only had 3 students and ended up with 2 at the end. One had to leave due to some pretty serious health issues. So, retaining that kind of when you have an N that small, the data is really difficult to really get anything meaningful out of that. But at 66%, for me, that retention is not a concern because that N is so small. The major concern is the enrollment number. If we had, 100 students or 200 students and retaining only 66%, I would be very concerned. But in this case, as you know, only one outlier can skew this thing so heavily, so that number is really kind of in question. And personally, for me, it does not cause a concern. With the efficiency, if you guys remember from a couple of weeks ago, the EMT and paramedic programs are under one cost center, so this information is identical. In this particular case, the EMT program really kind of helped to keep things somewhat solvent, at least keeping the program in the black for both of the years for these program reports. And in the 17-18 year, we actually had 41,000, to the good in operating income. Again, with such small numbers in the paramedic program, what was being offset was the tuition revenue that we were gaining in the EMT program. So that does help out there. Graduation rates, again, very similar to, retention. Again, no major concerns here. I think that within the program, we do very well in retaining our students. And as far as all the way through to graduation, we have a lot of internal processes, something called a program review, or I should say a PAM. That's a progress assessment meeting that we have with students at least twice in their first semester, and then ongoing every semester thereafter, usually at a frequency of at least 1. It's a great way to touch base with students. I know that a lot of us do this either informally or formally within the certificate programs. When I was under my charge, it was more formal, where we had these PAMs that would happen on a very scheduled basis, and we were able to identify any issues that students may have that may hinder their success, hopefully early, before they manifest themselves into a situation that we really can't. It gets much more difficult for us to help them. So that has helped, again, with our graduation and retention rates. The program is 3 semesters long. It is rather hefty in the amount of credit hours the students take, again, over 3 semesters. And then when you add in EMT into that, as many of our students have taken the EMT program with us. They've been here for 4 semesters. So they actually take more professional core courses than associate degree nursing. So there is quite a bit of core professional courses they do take. Student success, standardized exam placement. This is a concern. Internally right now, or I guess historically, the program had a benchmark of only 65%, as their first-time pass rate. In the 2 years, the first-time pass rate was 63, and then in the last program review was 100. We only had 1 test taker. So we had 2 students that graduated. One of them, for various reasons, could not take the test. And so we only had 1 test taker, and that person was successful. So again, this number really doesn't mean anything. What I think is a concern, and even going back to earlier data, if you look at these first-time pass rates, and I'm not included in here, but we have also the 2016 data, it's always been in that mid to low 60s first-time pass rate. So to me, this is a concern. I think the program has a kind of a low benchmark that was set historically, for their own internal practices on this. So that, again, that's something that raises a red flag in my mind. I think we should be a lot higher than that for a first-time pass rate. The profession actually looks at up to the 3rd attempt. So when they're looking at pass rates, they actually take them 1, 2, and 3. So a little bit more forgiving than some of our other accreditors. As far as the program assessment processes, I do have this as a yellow and kind of as a meat, but I will, as a cautionary note here in choosing that yellow color, when I went to look at the assessment plans and writing these reports, I noticed that we didn't really have a full data set available on some of the assessment information. And I know we were waiting for some of that to conclude in the 2018 year, which it should be concluded now. So my recommendation here is that the plan needs to be updated for that 2018 data, because that needs to be collected. There were some pieces in there, but not quite. It does need some more. From what the data that we did have, there was really no concerns. Again, but it wasn't really quite a full picture, an assessment picture. So I think I take the green is, again, no major concerns at this time. All right, so from the group, let me tell you my general impressions, general summary on all of this. Very similar to the EMT program, I think enrollment is a major concern. We simply cannot run programs with 7, 5, 6, 3 students. That simply can't work. So there needs to be some sort of an enrollment emergency with this program, and involving in some ways, the folks with admissions and marketing need to be involved. We've proposed many creative ways to try to boost enrollment, including partnering with Mercy Health, offering a pretty extensive discount package to them. This was one of the first programs to offer the internal discount, the 25%. We've worked with leadership at LifeStar, and they've created some incentive programs for their employees to take, our paramedic program, but none of that has really come to fruition yet, as many of these things do. It has not come to any real fruition. We've gotten a few students, literally maybe 3 from that. I also put forward a cohort pricing plan that was denied for the previous year, but it was recommended that this that pricing program, that a cohort discount, basically if a EMS provider, a fire station, a fire department, or some other similar provider wants to bring us, 5 students, that we would give that cohort a discount, would be at 25 or 20%, if they can collect those students and bring them to us. So it was recommended, or I recommend, and I've given Tim that information, that we could keep every year, keep asking for that cohort pricing. I think that will help with those fire departments, which can bring some of those individuals, those EMTs that they have, those firemen who are EMTs but need to be paramedics, and bring those to us. So those are just some ideas to help boost enrollment. But again, I think that enrollment is definitely a concern, And with enrollment, the efficiency ratios, that all gets fixed. The other concern is first-time pass rate. So I really think the program needs to continue focus on that. We did start as I mentioned with EMT a couple weeks ago, many of the certificate programs had no registry preparation program. So we made a pretty elaborate schedule and plan on how each program was going to do mock registries and all the follow-up that happens with those, with each one of those. So I think if that gains traction in the program, those first-time pass rates hopefully will improve. When you only have one student taking it, well, one student, they were successful. So I guess we could say it's starting to show a little bit, but I know that data is really meaningless. So yeah, we do need to, again, make sure that focus is on that first-time pass rate. All right. So that's really all we have here. So again, just like last time, if you could tell me what colors that you think should be, in that 16-17 block and that 17-18 block, and what the indicator would be. For me, I think that I do see this, especially with the enrollment, that in my opinion, both blocks would be red, and with perhaps a red down arrow in that 17-18 block. Again, just because I think we really have a crisis, especially in the enrollment is the major thing. That needs to be fixed. And I think we need to draw, the resources, the attention, and get the resources in, hopefully to bolster that program up. So there you go. Again, provide me your feedback. Much appreciated. This will be the last one. So thank you so much.